Okay, everybody, it is Wednesday, May 7th, 2025. And this week we shift to our frequencies that we're doing. And let me just pull up the map here. And so we are switching from principalities to powers. And remember, the measurement for principalities in feet was the same as 2 kilometers, which is the depth of the cylinder coils underneath the Khafre's pyramid, and which is really, really remarkable. And you'll see again how consistent this system works in feet, which is a natural measurement by human design. So if you go into the Google Drive, you'll see the frequencies for Earth to powers, which is the harmony and ratio system of frequency use. And frequency in pairs defines a harmony, and we're using a harmonic system to bind our nervous systems from Earth to powers, and we'll be doing that for 2 weeks. So just shift your focus there. And so this week, I mean, it keeps getting bigger and bigger with the pyramid. I've got a lot of lines now, you'll see in a minute, coming out of the pyramid. And really, when we look at the angles of each of these pyramids progressing throughout time, you can see that the intention is to track with the slight adjustment of angle. And angle is adjusted very, very slightly to build a whole new temple right next to the Great Pyramid. And of course, this arrangement of the three appears to be synchronistic with Orion's belt. So it's very incredibly sophisticated what's going on here. And knowing these coil structures, the central coils are underneath Khafre's pyramid here, is really incredible to note that there is a vibrational technology that causes, see, with piezoelectricity, and if those deep cylinders are indeed giant electromagnets, then they will cause vibrations, and then the pyramids will vibrate. And because they're crystalline nature, will, through piezoelectricity, will cause them to send out frequencies. Absolutely, they will. And they send out frequencies in this matrix, which causes a portal to actually open. And you'll see today my purple line here, which we're going to look at, and my other purple line here. This upper purple line is just very slightly different than the yellow line underneath it, which leads to the birthplace of Jesus, Bethlehem, angle 26.3 degrees, and the same angle where Jesus is baptized. The Dome of the Rock angle, the purple angle, for the first, easily for the first um, mile or two and three, which is really as far as the human eye can see on the horizon, is 3 miles, is still within 26 point something degrees. And then when this angle continues to Dome of the Rock, it starts to separate. But when you get out into space here, it really isn't changing that much, but it's changing. So there is the the end of Dome of the Rock. You see the birthplace of Jesus right here, and Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem here. And that separation is due to the progress of time, of the shifting of the movement of what is tracking in the heavens above. So as above, so below. On in the heavens, the synchronicities are imprinted in the earth, and they're imprinted in the distances to the targets. But this purple line down here actually leaves the Great Pyramid complex at 45 degrees. And 45 degrees is interesting because the Pyramid of the Sun in Mexico, which is at the end of the 39-degree angle of resurrection to the west, is 45 degrees. So there's a whole other thing happening at 45 degrees. And we're going to look at this to Muhammad's birthplace, and then look at the actual harmony. And this one is mind-blowing, what ends up happening with the calculations here, because this line, this purple line here, will lead right here. And you may as well just zoom in all the way. It's really incredible when you're on Google Earth, getting to know your territories and seeing these angles and distances at work. I think just about everybody knows what this place is. This is where the cube at the Kaaba, which is the cube, is situated. And this measurement here, you can see over here in miles. We switch it to feet. And I have that many feet, 4,223,255 feet. We're going to see the harmonic on this with my calculator. And it's incredible the number I get. It's really perfect how this all works. So I take 4,220,000. I know you can't see my calculator, but I'll show you in a minute. 255. Those are my feet. And then I'm going to subtract 8 inches per mile. So I'm going to switch this to miles. So it's 800 miles. So for 800 miles, I'm going to take away 800 miles times 8 inches is 533 feet. So I'm going to go back to feet here and put those in my calculator. 4, 2, 2, 3, 2, 5, 5 minus my feet. Okay, so now I'm going to switch your view to the calculator so you can see this. It's just as above, so below, perfectly done and orchestrated in the heavens above. Oh, you're still seeing, yeah, I got to stop share. I want to share my calculator. So then I go to share calculator. There we go. Okay, so that's the measurement in feet from the Great Pyramid to the Kaaba. I'm going to divide it by the golden ratio and do my repeated formula. And I'm not going to write all this down yet, but that's my first number. I think I should write these numbers down in a Word file right here. So hang on a second. I got to open a doc. This is really profound. Where we're going
That
to
ends in 785.5, which is 786. That's crazy. Which is in the name of God, which is the first line in the Quran.
Where are you getting that number from?
2609785.5.
Oh, that's just the first number, yeah.
I know, but still.
Oh, you know what that number means? So that's the second number, sorry. That's the third number. And I'm just going to keep recording these numbers because we're not going to end up where I was expecting to end up, which was going to be Jupiter. That's not where we end up. We're going to end up somewhere you're not going to believe. It's getting deeper how these calculations work. So it's good to see the process of this because anybody can do this. I'm just hitting the repeat function on the calculator, so it keeps dividing it by the golden ratio. dividing it by the golden ratio. And I'm at 89,000 now. And then I'm going to be at 55,000. That's just inside the orbit of Neptune. But I'm missing all the planets. This is where it's going to get really mind-bending. 34,000. 21,000. I'm 13,000. There we go. That's outside the orbit of Saturn, but it's not in harmony. 8,000. When I first did this, I thought, okay, all these numbers are mush. That's outside the orbit of Jupiter, but it's not in harmony with Jupiter because Jupiter is 4,33258 days. And keep going. That's outside the orbit of Ceres, dwarf planet Ceres in the asteroid belt. And keep going. You're only seeing the calculator, right?
Yeah, only seeing the calculator.
Yeah,
But
I'll
these don't
switch.
coincide with any of your numbers.
I know, just watch.
Okay.
Just watch, Rose. Yeah, there it is. You know what that number is?
No.
That's Fatima.
Oh, wow.
2 orbits. I'll show you in a minute. That is the magic number. Okay, so this number that you're seeing, let me just stop share and share again back to my Word document. And we will call this document, I just have to save it, Mecca. Mecca. Okay. So when the miracle of the sun at Fatima occurred, it was, let me show you because I'm going to refresh you on this number. And it's 279.15, which is utterly remarkable. So let's go here to here. January 7 to October 13 number of days. Okay, so let me go to my share screen. So remember, in the solar year, there are 2 dates we start with. And we can start with December 25th, and we can start with January 7th. And both are correct because December 25th is 3 days after winter solstice, and January 7th is 3 days after winter perihelion. So when we look at this, the number of days in a solar year from January 7th, and both of these dates are Christmas. January 7th is Orthodox Christmas, and which is still on the Julian calendar, and on the Gregorian calendar, Christmas is December 25th. They're both correct because we live in a hyperdimensional solar system for which there are 2 suns and there are 2 sets of 9 planets, and the hyperdimensional upper 9, known as the upper Aeneid in the ancient Egyptian system, are the planets of the angels or the planets of the supremely enlightened ones. And those planets interact with Earth hyperdimensionally. And so the event of Fatima is 279 days from January 7th, October 13th. And the event of Fatima was at 26 degrees to the west, which is where the huge power outage was on that angle only a week or so after I first posted it on my YouTube video. And then this, which is means that just the posting of the video was synchronistic to what was already going to happen, is that there was going to be a hyperdimensional interaction with planet 139 on that date. And that date of the power outage was still Easter inside of the lunar calendar Easter sine wave window, which is the channel where Easter will appear um, periodically, repeatedly throughout the hundreds of years cycles on the lunar calendar. So the fact that with Muhammad's birth divided by the golden ratio, we came to 279 is incredibly significant because it's exactly two orbits of 139. 139 times 2, right, is 139.51. It's 139.5 times 2 is 279. And the number of times the word heaven appears in the New Testament in the original Greek is 279 times. And that is recorded. So this is a perfect coincidence. So what I've noticed with certain also birth dates for people is some people are in harmony to half an orbit of a particular hyperdimensional angelic planet, and some people's dates are two orbits. But if it was like 2.1 orbits, I would have to say it's out of phase. But with the distance to Muhammad's birthplace divided by the golden ratio, we came to the number 279. And that's Fatima. And where in Portugal did the miracle of the sun happen? It happened in Fatima. And what is Fatima, Shiroz, in Islam?
The daughter of Muhammad.
It's the daughter of Muhammad. So how does that happen?
How
How
is that possible?
how is a village in Portugal named after Muhammad's daughter when it's a Catholic region,
And also wife of Ali.
right?
And and also Ali was born in the Kaaba.
Right. And why would the wife of Ali was born in the Kaaba or within the region of it?
No, Ali was born in the Kaaba.
Ali was born in the Kaaba. Yeah. Right. And describe who Ali is in Islam.
He's the cousin of the Prophet and the successor of Muhammad as appointed by him,
Right.
appointed by Muhammad.
So he's born on this harmonic location as well.
Yes.
So when we go back to my map here's the Kaaba, and you can just see how this is all designed perfectly from above. And again, this is 45 degrees. It leaves the pyramid. Remember, the angle that we leave the Great Pyramid at is the angle we're looking at. The angle, because the Earth is spherical, will slowly change. So you have two angles. You have the angle at the receiving end, and that's where this goes next. And then the angle at the where it leaves the pyramid. And it's leaving the pyramid at 45 degrees. Now, what's shocking is at the other end of my purple line, 45 degrees to the north, you see this purple line here, is the Mona Lisa line.
Really?
Mona
Oh,
Lisa is it is a divine manifestation. It is the most famous painting in the world and the most valuable painting in the world. And the reason this is the Mona Lisa line is this is where Mona Lisa gets completed. Da Vinci starts the Mona Lisa in Florence, Italy, and then he, by invitation from the King of France, he brings it to Chateau du Clos, say. I don't know how to pronounce that with a French accent. I don't have a French accent. So this is where Mona Lisa is completed. At the other end of the 45-degree line. And when I calculate the harmony of the order on the line, it's really incredible. What's really going on is just getting so consistent. And it's actually a very deep secret. So this is where Mona Lisa was completed in France. And then, of course, she eventually moves to, I want to show you this. So we go to the Louvre pyramid, of course, is a pyramid in Paris, France. The Louvre is her final resting place. And the Chinese architect who designs the pyramid, which is Mona Lisa, is sitting within the complex. Of course, it's very difficult to duplicate the Great Pyramid angle. It turns out he's off because instead of using degrees, minutes, and seconds, 51 degrees and 51 minutes, he converted that to digital, 51 degrees and 51 minutes. He made that digital, and the digital is 51.85. He made it 51.5. So for such a prestigious architect to make a mistake like that is kind of ironic. But you notice that it's also surrounded by these three other pyramids. So what is happening here? Because Mona Lisa is residing here, and the harmony of the order of the line, without showing you the calculation, is in very high harmony to Mars. So Mars is extremely high in the harmony of the order. And of course, Mars is the planet of war. And the way I see this for Mona Lisa is that the Gospels, by eliminating Mary Magdalene for a very long time as definitely the closest female to Christ, and most likely, according to the Gospel of Philip, not by any conspiracy theory that I've conjectured, but there's no question in the Gospel of Philip that Mary Magdalene is Jesus's wife, and that they had children and that they had a bloodline that survived to this day, mysteriously somewhere, and that there is a war against the woman, the counterpart, and that Mona Lisa, and in fact, I have a book coming out, Mona Lisa's Little Secret, is being published by a London publisher. So this book will go very deep into Mona Lisa, which is why I decided to measure the Mona Lisa here. And her final resting place at a pyramid whose angle resembles very closely the angle of the Great Pyramid. So there's no mistakes here. She is truly an enormous presence in our world. She's like a living being that has lived for centuries, literally hundreds of years since her creation. And the fact that her harmony of the order is Mars, it really demonstrates the war against the divine female counterpart of Jesus Christ. And it truly is a war that started very early on in the story and the mythic of the mystery of who this woman was that was so close to Jesus. In fact, just for some time, I'm going to show you something actually in the the Gospel of Philip, because it's really ironic that her completion place is the opposite end of the angle to where Muhammad and where Ali were both born at the Kaaba, which is in harmony to Fatima, the miracle of the sun incident in Fatima, Portugal in 1917, October 13th. So now I got to Google the Gospel, Philip, and the Gospel of Philip is right here. I mean, when you read something like this, the entire Gospel of Philip has clues that point to miraculous insights. And there's one part in here that clearly demonstrates what may be the three pyramids on the Giza Plateau. All three pyramids. It's really difficult to understand it. And it's because Jesus talks right here. It's right here. It is from water and fire that the soul and spirit came into being. Water and fire. And remember, it was John the Baptist who said that John the Baptist was baptizing with water, but that Jesus would be baptizing with fire, light. It is from water and fire that the son of the bridal chamber is actually the Holy of Holies, came into being. The fire is the chrism, the light is the fire. I'm not referring to that fire which has no form, but to the other fire whose form is white, which is bright and beautiful and gives beauty. Now, he's going to talk about these three chambers, these three temples. And these three temples don't exist in Jerusalem. There was never a complex of three.
Also, David,
Mhm.
Muhammad wasn't born inside the Kaaba. Only Ali was born inside the Kaaba. Muhammad was born around there, but
Yeah, he
not
was born in
inside.
Mecca. Yeah, he was
Yeah,
born
he
in
was born
Mecca.
in Mecca.
Yeah, the angle wouldn't change at that distance.
No, that's right. Yeah.
It would not change at all. You're talking about hair. So in an angle, this is really important to understand this. An angle, a single degree is 1 day of Earth time because there's 360 degrees in a circle. Our planet, as it's going around the elliptical orbit around the sun, each day it travels 1 degree, 1.0, 1.001 degrees. So there's 365 days in a year. There's 360 degrees in a circle. And in ancient times, there was 360 days in the year. So the degree system is a day. So when we say 45 degrees, you that where Muhammad is born, you can look on you could technically start a year anywhere you want in an ellipse, but it makes the most sense to start at the end of the elliptical band, which is the summer solstice or the winter solstice. It wouldn't matter where you started. The harmony of the order would not change. So remember, a degree is a day. We're going to go deeper into this because you're going to see from Easter.
It's our day or it's a day of God. It's our day,
No,
right?
it's our day. It's a day because when the Earth goes around the sun, it will complete 365 days for 360 degrees. So there's just
Right. Got it.
tiny time. So a degree is pretty much a day. I mean, it's a
Got it.
shaving,
Got it.
you see? So when Jesus is talking here, he's going to talk a lot about the bridal chamber. Truth did not come into the world naked, but it came in types and images. The world will not receive truth in any other way. There is rebirth and an image of rebirth. It is certainly necessary to be born again through the image. Which one? Resurrection. The image must rise again through the image. The bridal chamber and the image must enter through the image into truth. This is restoration. Not only must those who produce the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit do so, but have produced them for you. If one does not acquire them, the name Christian will also be taken from him. This is to say, you have to acquire them. They're not just given. But one receives the unction of the word is lost here, of the power of the cross. This power the apostles called the right and the left, for this person is no longer a Christian, but a Christ. So the Lord did everything in mystery, a baptism and a chrism and a Eucharist and a redemption and a bridal chamber. Now, so the use of the bridal chamber gets really clear here. Here it is. There were 3 buildings specifically for the sacrifice in Jerusalem. The one facing the west was called the Holy, another facing the south called the Holy of the Holy, and the third facing the east was called the Holy of the Holy. So there are 3. There are 3. And again, Jerusalem's temple moved. We have record of the temple moving at least twice because of what it's tracking in the heavens above. And the temple is still within between 26 and 26 and a half degrees from the pyramid. So the question is, obviously the ancients knew this, that the Great Pyramid was God's temple in Isaiah chapter 19, very clear, and that the angles to the temple complexes, which is why Mary Magdalene's family synagogue, it's not a family business, it is an actual synagogue for that community, is placed at the 38 to 39 degree angle. It's really hard to get the exact angle between 38 and 39 degrees. And I demonstrated last week that the 3 pyramids, their angles are slowly changing. And between 38 point something degrees and 39, which is the leftover of the 51 degree to 50, just under 52 degree angle of the Great Pyramid on a 90 degree angle. So again, there's 3 chambers here, but we don't have 3 chambers in Jerusalem. They don't exist. And again, the word here, which in this gospel of Philip is translated, and most likely from Greek, there is no J in Jerusalem at all. There's no J in the Hebrew language. It's a Y. It's Jerusalem. And then again, as a temple complex and a matrix of temples, it's describing 3. And they only have in Solomon's temple, which is when Moses's Holy of Holies doubled in size. It went from 10 royal cubits to 20. And the holy place, when it was a tent and a tabernacle, went from 10 by 20 cubits to 20 by 40 cubits in Solomon's temple. But there's only 2 chambers there. There's the holy place and there's the Holy of Holies. But there's 3 here. And so we don't know what Jesus is really talking about. He says, so it says there were 3 buildings specifically for sacrifice in Jerusalem. The one facing the west was called the Holy. Notice it's facing the west, which is the setting. It's facing the setting position of whatever it's tracking in the heavens above. Another is facing the south, called the Holy of the Holy. And the south, from the location of Jerusalem today, it would be where the winter sun would rise and pass. The third is facing the east, which is the position of rising, and that's the Holy of the Holies. That's the place where only the high priest enters. Baptism is the holy building, so that's the one facing the west. So baptism is facing the setting. Redemption is the Holy of the Holy. That's facing, again, not only the sun, but the rising and setting of the planetary bodies in the ecliptic plane in the winter are going to be in the south because the holies faces, and the holy of the holies is the bridal chamber. Baptism includes the resurrection and the redemption. The redemption takes place in the bridal chamber. But the bridal chamber is that which is superior to, and words are missing here. You will not find those who pray, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, those called the Holy of the Holies. The veil was rent, and this is the moment when Jesus is crucified. A lightning bolt strikes the temple and tears the enormously thick, it's about this thick, of linen, colored linen fibers that surrounded the Ark of the Covenant in the Holy of Holies. So the veil was rent from top to bottom, for it was fitting for some from below to go upward. So this description of three temples is very difficult to solve
Hey,
because,
David.
yeah,
Um, Jesus's planet, what was it again? 141?
no, his ascension planet is 139.51. So that two orbits of that is 279.
Right. Okay.
Exactly. It's exactly 139.5 times 2
Wow. Yeah,
is,
yeah,
is
exactly.
279. So Muhammad's birthplace, the harmony of the order at the distance is that harmony.
Right.
So then,
I guess it would be Muhammad's ascension too, right?
well, remember, he goes to the seventh heaven,
Yeah, exactly.
and that is the seventh. In fact, let's show that before I come back to Philip, because if you see this in the harmony of the order map, it's just perfect. Everything in this system that I've been guided to produce, you see, if we start from angels, one, archangels, two, principalities, three, powers, four, virtues, five, dominion, six, which is 591, and then you the next position is number seven is 139.51. And 139.51 times 2 is 279. It's just incredible. It's incredible.
Right.
And again, Fatima being the name of Muhammad's daughter. And the also the Buddha's celebrated birthday in May is in harmony with this position. It's in harmony with one orbit, right? Because a specific date in May, there's a window that, again, on the lunar calendar, it comes to and from perfect harmony to this position. And out here, just beyond the orbit of Neptune, where I get a lot of calculations end up there, is where Dante is with Beatrice, looking back down. He's looking back down of the cascading orbits of the known planets towards the sun before Uranus and Neptune are even discovered in the 13th century, is when Dante's having experience, and Uranus and Neptune don't get discovered until 19th century. And we're in the 21st century now. So there's a perfection to understanding this, and that the ancient Egyptians knew of their system of the Aeneid, the lower nine, counting the sun, there are nine, and then there are nine. There's always been nine levels of the angels. They've never been synchronized as orbital positions of planets that are hyperdimensional in our solar system. And when you understand when Jesus ascends, and his ascension day is coming up this year, there are two dates online, which is very confusing. And I'm going to go into that in a minute because we got May 29th and June 1st. And here's what's amazing. Let me go to that because that's really important. When you go to, let me go to my online calculator and I'll show you that in a second. Um, January 7th. we go to the number of, no, Easter. So Easter 2025 was April 20th. But you have two churches. I think this is the first year they're both on the same date. So April 20th to May 29, number of days. Okay, well, you got to see this. This is incredible. See? April 20th, Easter, to the Ascension Day, May 29th, is 39 days. Remember, a day is a degree of angle. And what is the angle?
What's 39 degrees?
It's 39 degrees. You see what's happening? Because we come back, this is where it gets so incredibly clear. We come back to our angle of resurrection, which is this blue line here. When Jesus resurrects, he appears first in where the region where his apostles are, but then he appears 3 times here on the Sea of Galilee at 39. It's somewhere between 38 and 39 degrees. And judging by the measurement on the last pyramid angle, it's so close to 39 degrees. It used to be 38 point something, but it's a shaving under 39. And this is exactly where Jesus appears in his resurrected body 3 times. And the 153 fish are caught by the apostles, which is the numerology for the name of Mary Magdalene. And Mary Magdalene's the Magdal Temple, which is the family name. It's the name of the village. I mean, it's really a village, is what it was, is where the Smithsonian did the study on the excavation site where the temple remains were discovered here. And what they find in the temple is amazing. It's just amazing. They find a stone, it looks like a stone carving of the Ark of the Covenant with the menorah carved on the side of it. And then, of course, at that same angle, we run by the Zaytun Church here, this red balloon here, which is where the Mother Mary appears again at that angle. And then that angle, notice it's 39 degrees off of the east-west line, which is the rising sun. So counting, that's 39 days and 39 degrees. And Jesus's ascension this year is 39 days. Some years it's 40. It's supposed to be 40 days, by the way. But again, 40 degrees is still perfect.
Right.
You're still your accuracy is there. And some years it seems to be 39 days. And so you're 39 degrees to the west angle. Here, we know what happens to that angle. We come to, so you have resurrected persons, spiritual beings, the Mother Mary appearing on 39 degrees to the east at the Zaytun Church. And then when you fall the 39-degree angle, we go by Marseille, past Marseille, France, where Mary Magdalene's boat stops, and she establishes the order of the religion in France, and all the statues of her with child being pregnant with their children are then iconically captured by the Catholics and converted to iconography of the Mother Mary instead of Mary Magdalene with child. There was a whole war. There was a whole war against all these sites, and that's where you get into Da Vinci Code stuff. And that's another thing I have to map is actually the famous church in Sonyar, Berenger Sonyar, and the famous church. So when we fall the other end of that line, I'm just recapping. We come to my position here, the Pyramid of the Sun in Mexico. Remember, the Pyramid of the Sun in Mexico has a slope angle of 45 degrees, which is its actual angle. And what's interesting about that is when we check the angle again changes. We left the pyramid at 39 degrees, but because the Earth is spherical, I'm just going to check this on my protractor here because I haven't done that. But the angle it comes in to the pyramid at, oh yeah, 45 degrees. Isn't that interesting? So that angle is received at the pyramid of the sun, which has a slope angle of 45 degrees. This yellow line is coming in at 45 degrees, which is angle of resurrection. And when I continue that angle with a slight, it's very slight deviation, I come to, again, where the Mother Mary appears, to Juan Diego in the year 15. I want to make sure, I think it's 1532. It's a very old story. And Mother Mary appears and imprints her image on the tilma, December 12th, 1531. And December 12th in the year 1531 on the calendar is winter solstice, which shows you how on our calendar, because we only absorb a quarter of a day per year for leap year, we're not absorbing the rest of the sidereal perfection of time. And over every 139 years, we go off another day, off another day, off another day, which is why eventually the calendar has to be corrected. So it's just so consistent. So there you have it. The Pyramid of the Sun in Mexico receives the 39-degree angle at 45 degrees, which is the angle of that pyramid. And then Muhammad is born at 45 degrees from the Great Pyramid back in the Holy Land region. And again, when we measure Dome of the Rock, the only thing I haven't shown you so far, which we probably have time for, is when we go to the Dome of the Rock line, which is where Muhammad ascends, which is this purple line here. I look at my miles. It is, the Dome of the Rock line is 273 miles, so I have to subtract, I'll show you this on the calculator, 273 times 8 inches per mile for the curvature of the Earth. I will have to subtract 182 feet. This won't make any difference, but I just do it. On a distance that short, it's not going to make any difference to the harmony calculation. But you're going to get to see the harmony of the order calculation at the distance. And why these numbers keep working. Keep working. 320 minus. Okay, I'm going to show you the calculation now. So we go to share screen, stop share, and then share to my calculator. So this is the measurement to the Dome on the Rock, subtracting the curvature of the Earth, and we're going to divide it by the golden ratio. And look at the numbers. I'm going to put it in here. Dome of the Rock. I got to put these numbers in. And it's really good for people to see how I'm doing this because this is a function of the golden ratio. that shows as above, so below. This is as above, so below mathematics. And it shows you how perfectly designed these events are. And this particular event is Muhammad's ascension through the seven heavens. And I'm looking at my numbers. I know I've done this calculation once before. Not once before. 49,000.
Yeah, I remember.
30,000. Yeah, I've done this before. I think I know the answer, but I'm not going to say it yet because it's so long ago that I did it. I never wrote it down. There's Saturn. It's pretty high harmony for Saturn. And that's Jupiter. Really high harmony for Jupiter. So, yeah. And that's, again, Jupiter keeps coming up. So basically the whole Jerusalem and all of the most profound sites in Jerusalem are going to be in the harmony of the order of Jupiter. And then, yeah, it's Jupiter because Earth will be probably about 92%. Oh, yeah. 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 We're out. Well, wait a second. I'm going to have to look at Mercury. Venus is out a little bit. It's out. And one more number. Yeah, it's definitely Jupiter. It's Jupiter. Jupiter holds the highest harmony in this calculation. And I'll tell you the accuracy on Jupiter for Muhammad's ascension. But it's definitely Jupiter. The percentage for Jupiter, that's Jupiter actual. That's the number we recorded. We're 96.66%. Yeah, that's incredibly high. You see how this works. The way the system works is we take the measurement, subtract the curvature of the Earth, and then we keep dividing fractally by the golden ratio, and we compare the numbers to the orbital periods of the known planets as well as the angelic positions. So I have to check these percentage-wise on the angelic positions as well, because that's going to matter. It matters a lot. And we're going to see where we end up. Actually, there's another calculation here. I see the number. The number is 249.76 divided by 279, which is two orbits. It's almost 90% in harmony to two orbits of planet 139.51. It's almost 90, pretty much 90%. So that's there too. But again, Jupiter holds the highest percentage at nearly 97%. So the event of the ascension is ruled by Jupiter, and that keeps coming up. It keeps coming up that Jupiter holds these really high positions. For the feminine, it appears to be Neptune almost every single time, which I have to demonstrate again later. So anyway, that's it for today. So we will continue. Again, I just want to bring it up again in the model. It's amazing how perfect this model has become. And this model, of course, comes from my wife from the other side by calling out my name at 591 days, 591 divided by the golden ratio is the exact orbital period of Earth. And when I use the golden ratio, I build this entire model of the orbital periods of the known planets to high degrees of accuracy. The two planets that are out of harmony are Mars and Neptune. And it turns out they have their own harmony. And the very fact that Mars and Neptune are out of the harmony of the order is because we live in a hyperdimensional solar system where there are more than one harmonies. There are two that we've defined, but there's probably more than that. And so Neptune seems to hold the highest position for the feminine, and there there's actually a position starting to look more and more like Star Wars when you start to really understand the greater picture, because Mars and the asteroid belt and dwarf planet Ceres are Mars is completely out of the harmony. It doesn't fit the model with its orbit being 686.98 days, but it does. And we did this before in the inner circle. Remember, we measured from the Great Pyramid to the real Mount Sinai in Jordan, where the tomb of Aaron is, and it's only in harmony with Mars, and it was 99.9% harmony to Mars.
When you mentioned Crystal, it reminded me of how in the interview where I interviewed guys, how she told me how she was the brains behind you with the golden ratio. And it's just
Well, yeah,
also fascinating.
our nervous systems are still connected. I mean, she's the one who started all of this for me with her death and the number 591. And the very fact that by calling out my name at 591 days divided by the golden ratio is Earth, divided by the golden ratio is Venus, divided by the golden ratio is 139.51, divided by the golden ratio is Mercury, and so on. And then you go out and you can really see what's happened. It is like Star Wars. There was a war, and Richard Hoagland is the one who really pointed me to this, understanding that there must have been something like the Death Star, planet destroying weapon that caused this huge event here, and that Mars used to have a twin, which is planet Theia. And we know this, it used to have a twin. And so the twin of Mars remember, the orbit of 591 is just inside of the orbit of Mars. And theoretically, Theia's orbit might have been 591. But because it was destroyed, the 591 position is now up here. So whatever Dante saw, Dante is the only one that we know of who actually saw the vision of these upper nine angelic planets. He didn't go through them. Dante goes through the lower planets as heavens, and he's with Beatrice out here beyond the orbit of Neptune, where we enter what are called the fixed stars, which is the constellations. And then she shows him in the vision looking back these nine extra spheres. And then in the very end of Paradiso, there are three more spheres that no soul, no one, that are basically for God, that pass the seraphim point, the ninth position. There are three more. And that is a whole subject that I need to take on. There is nowhere in literature anywhere where these extra three bands are. But when you follow the three bands, you come to the final height of the Great Pyramid of Egypt at 480.519 feet. And maybe we'll take that on next week. So
And
anyway,
then and I wanted to also add, like when you mentioned Mars and the twins, and then they're at 591. And remember, twin is also Thomas, and Crystal and Thomas died within 5 days of each other.
yeah, they did. They did. That's amazing. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, David. Thanks, everybody.